you will be able to discuss all these important issues. So, let us ask, how can we finance, design, and govern this digital stack infrastructure in a more inclusive way? How can we empower individuals and SMEs with their own data? And how can public-private and private-private collaborations further take advantage of these digital transformation possibilities to provide services to the vulnerable, as well as enable them to benefit from the digital economy? It will require action from all stakeholders, especially the many leaders from the business, policy, and financial sectors here today, from Indonesia, G20 countries, and around the world. Your role is crucial. I wish you every success in your efforts to create a digital financial system which really benefits everyone.
Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, a very important message indeed from the Queen of the Netherlands. And the Queen also said that we should move beyond payment for digital financial services because we need savings, insurance, and also credits that are needed by individuals, households, and MSMEs to fully benefit from the digital economy. And we also need to put in place a digital financial infrastructure that is inclusive, safe, and equitable. And it's really a pride moment for Indonesians that she mentioned about the pre-employment card, or in Indonesia we call as Kartu Prakerja, because personally it was very close to me, Kartu Prakerja. I was assigned to host and also MC the launch of Kartu Prakerja, or the pre-employment card. And that Kartu Prakerja just started like months, but then the pandemic hit and the government needs to act fast and adjust and also transform Kartu Prakerja into assistance fund. So the card that was supposedly designed for assistance, for entrepreneurship, for retraining, upskilling, then was transformed into assistance fund. And that was a proof of the agility of the government of Indonesia in transforming that facility into something that people can rely on to survive during a very difficult time during the pandemic. And I believe that many governments and also many business leaders did the same agility into their country, into their business to save lives, because we were facing difficulties back then. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do some adjustment about the scheduling. I would like to invite now Anne Hathaway to remind us about how important equality is and how important women's role in making our life better, and the importance of women to be given the same opportunity. Please welcome Anne Hathaway.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to speak to you today as a Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women. Women's participation and equal power is fundamental to progress for everyone. I'm sure you are aware of the evidence which shows conclusively that equality between women and men make us all safer, happier, more prosperous, and more successful. And yet, the reality in which we find ourselves is that at the current rate of progress, it may take another 300 years to achieve gender equality. I hope we all agree this is 3 centuries too long. It is going to take more than hope to get us to a better future. Our current position is far from good. Progress for women and girls is in dramatic reverse in many countries. Rights and freedoms that women and girls had experienced as normal, to work, to learn, to make choices about their bodies, have been abruptly taken away. Some of those losses have been legislated or imposed by governing authorities against courageous resistance. Others have been brought to light and sharpened by unprecedented global crises, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic had a devastating impact on us all, but it hit women especially hard. There is a frightening, intensification of domestic violence against women. Another threat to women's safety was the seismic loss of economic opportunities. Millions of women left the workforce in 2020. They lost their jobs at faster rates than men and have stayed out of the job market longer. And now, as fuel and food prices rise globally, amidst the climate emergency and sustained military conflicts, women's incomes, as well as their contributions to businesses' success and the recovery of markets, matter even more than ever. Ironically, the pandemic also showed us just how much our future progress depends on the skills and leadership of women. Women sustained our healthcare systems and invented life-saving vaccines. As leaders of countries, they gave us some of the most effective responses to the pandemic. And yet, we show time and time again that we do not equally value women's participation, contribution, and leadership. This year, in 169 countries and areas, that's most of the world, women's labor force participation is expected to stay below pre-pandemic levels. What can we attribute this to? Well, it's my regret to share with you that during the pandemic, women did an additional 512 billion hours of unpaid care work at home. While I let that statistic sink in, I would like to acknowledge the essential importance of care. Care is fundamental to the basic functioning of our economies and societies, and I'm not meaning to suggest otherwise. In fact, the reality is, everyone will need care at some point in their life. However, we must also recognize the reality that the current way care is provided and valued is unfair and unsustainable. We must address the cultural biases that automatically label care as women's work. Even before the pandemic, women spent more than 3 times as many hours as men on unpaid care and domestic work. It was unfair then, it's worse now. It's time to admit that something is very, very off. Whether or not we mean to, the fact is, we are taking advantage of women. Simply put, we must stop penalizing women for caring. We must stop relying on women to make it work and instead proactively make possible, support, and fairly compensate care work. UN Women has observed the care that's appreciated and properly valued in all its form is a critical missing link in unlocking the full potential of women in the economy and in society, which is, of course, the same thing as unlocking the full potential of everyone in the economy and society. Governments, businesses, and civil society can all play a role in this. UN Women would like to propose these practical and immediate actions. Ask governments to support care services, pay the taxes that fund them, prioritize the creation of family-friendly workplaces which include flexible working hours, paid parental leave, and in-house childcare facilities. This is a moment when we must urgently act not only to restore what has been lost for women and girls, but to end the harmful status quo which keeps inequality thriving. The stakes simply couldn't be higher. The world, not just women, needs innovative solutions more than ever. Optimizing inclusivity is our best chance at success. This esteemed group, which I am honored to address today, find themselves tasked with making decisions that shape lives. I urge you, put women at the heart of economic growth and recovery. Be the architects of a better future by doing what no one else has effectively done before. Prioritize women for the good of all. Thank you.
That was a very powerful message from Anne Hathaway, UN Women Goodwill Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, unlocking the full potential of women in the economy. And one of the most interesting points that I think was pointed out by Ms. Hathaway was that women and men suffer more during the pandemic, but women suffer more. And we're taking advantage of women, and we penalize women for caring. So we need to change and put women on priority for the better good of all. It is really consistent with the B20 legacies that was kicked off yesterday, or was inaugurated yesterday. One Global Women Empowerment, or OGWE, aggregating existing capacities and networks to accelerate and scale impactful women empowerment efforts globally. And the objective of the B20 legacy, One Global Women Empowerment, that was inaugurated or strengthened yesterday, was that to facilitate the acceleration of impactful inclusion of women in businesses in the global economy by providing digital capability, knowledge sharing, funding and investment, technical support, and supportive policies. And hopefully, the B20 legacies can be translated into actions and will benefit women in general. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the next session. This is to announce a special B20 initiatives on green transition through the Green EV Fund cooperation that has been supported by the B20 Finance and Infrastructure Task Force. Just a bit of a background that we will witness a signing ceremony of $2 billion of Green EV Fund to invest in the end-to-end value chain of the EV ecosystem across sectors to achieve climate goals. We are still waiting for our speakers as well as the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, but the presentation and also the signing ceremony will give us an idea about several things. Firstly, is about why we invest in the EV value chain. This is a very critical question to answer, and later our speaker will explain about 5 different reasons why we need to invest in EV. First and foremost is that global trend of increasing environmental awareness is on the rise, and fundamental cost and technology improvements, as what Professor Schwab said earlier, that the cost of technology will decrease eventually, including for cleaner energy. And the third is exponential growth in the global EV market. And the reason number 4 being $1 trillion opportunity in the electrification of transportation. And last but not least, emerging EV market in Indonesia with supportive fundamentals. Later, the speaker, Mr. Rida, will explain more about that. But now I would like to welcome all the delegates who have just come to the main ballroom. And we're still waiting for the Finance Minister, Ibu Sri Mulyani. But we will start the procession or the signing ceremony once she arrives. And we will also answer questions, why is it so attractive to invest in the EV sector in Indonesia? So yesterday, if you joined the first day, there was a bit of rivalry between Ministers of Energy, Minister of Tourism, and also Minister of Health, arguing about which is the most lucrative, which is the most financially feasible to invest in. Is it in the health sector? Is it in the tourism sector? Or is it in the energy sector? But this session would argue that it is also important to invest in the EV clean energy sector because of some of the benefits that we will gain, not only us as investors, but also the Earth and our generation. Now we would like to welcome Bapak Erick Thohir, His Excellency Mr. Erick Thohir, the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, or in Indonesia we call it BUMN. Thank you so much, Pak Erick, for coming. And for this ceremony, we're still waiting for the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Sri Mulyani. And the reason being, ladies and gentlemen, why Indonesia is attractive for capturing the EV investment opportunity, because the country is an emerging global nickel hub. As we learned from the previous